Hope my screen is visible. So let me introduce myself before I start the session. So my name is Satyajit, and I do have 10 plus years of experience in information systems and data science, along with business analytics. And I've also worked with different central government client as well as state government clients. Recently, I'm working with Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Their main work is to design some kind of a recommendation systems. On top of it, how to accelerate the skill to each and every individuals, even in the remotest place of India. And also, I got an opportunity to work with few clients, for example, water and power resources, and where I got an opportunity to model some of the machine learning algorithms and for example, how to use some kind of utility data, and design machine learning algorithm to predict that which household requires some kind of a gas connections, electricity, water supply, and all that, and also some kind of a customer segmentations. So these all involve some kind of machine learning as well as some kind of a business approach to it, how to deal with it, because whenever you design any systems, AI systems, that requires a lot of data. And also many more in lined up sessions. I do have organized some kind of webinar seminar. I participated, and I was part of that league. So I got an opportunity to speak on different topics at BIT Mesra, Indira Gandhi Technical University, Amity University. This is my small profile, and I work as a data scientist and also as AI ML engineers. And I have this LinkedIn profile. If someone wants to get connected with me, you can just find out my LinkedIn profile there. So you can connect me. And if you have any query related with data science, business analytics, any kind of a modeling, so I can assist you in that. So this is just a small profile. And before I start, so let me just switch on my video, because it's very important to see the person who is speaking. So hope I am visible to you. So it's me. So hope you can see me. So because sometime the person who is speaking, okay, hi Indu. So sometime the people who are talking to you, sometimes you do not get connected with. So it's me. So let me start the session because it's already late. So just let me just start the session. Okay, just give me 30 seconds. Just confirm if my screen is visible to you, because it's the only way you can interact with me is either unmute yourself and just, yeah, okay. So, yeah. So hope my entire screen is visible to you. So let me start the session because it's your topic is the forecasting technique. So okay, there is a background noise, so just avoid it. So yeah, so let me start with this the famous quote: if you torture the data long enough, it will confess to everything, or maybe it's confess to anything. Because the data science, whenever you deal with the data science, the projects and all, it's the data that is the more important part of it, because you always deal with different kinds of data. It may be supervised data, unsupervised data, maybe some kind of structured data, unstructured data. Because when you say unstructured data, because all the social media data, the kind of tweet you typically do, or maybe you write anything on Instagram, maybe on the Facebook. So these all are the part of the unstructured data, because there is no format to it. But whenever you see a data which are in structured format, for example, some kind of a legacy data, some kind of a sales data, if you have, so they are typically captured in the structure format. You have some kind of rows and columns. So whenever your data is in the form of rows and columns, somehow they are structured in format. But there comes the problem here in this statement, because you cannot torture your data to get the desired result. Because the torturing your data and getting the desired result is not the part of a data science, because you want the exact result you wanted from the data, right? But the point is that data science calibrate between these kind of a torturing. They gives you some kind of the clue that whether the data, the results which are coming up is it's relevant or not. So that is why there is some kind of a matrices attached with it. For example, you might have learned some kind of a regression. I'm just supposing that you might have heard of the regression techniques. So in regression techniques, you do have some kind of root mean squared, R square values. So these are some, you can say the matrices, some kind of, you get some kind of a numbers. So it gives you the reason why regression is predicting something. For example, sales, the kind of sales you typically do and the revenue attached with it. Okay, so sales and revenue, the one data is the independent variable and the revenue you are getting is the dependent variable. So whenever you increase the number of sales, so you are gonna get a higher number of this obviously the revenue. So this is kind of a simple linear regression where one of the element is your sales, number of sales, and corresponding to that you are getting a revenue out of it. Okay, but when you torture the data, right, you just wanted some kind of revenue to be reflected on your dashboard, and you are torturing the data. That is not the real way to get the result out of it. Okay, so that is why it's very important whenever you work in any industry, don't torture the data. Always go with the data which are given to you and work on it, because whenever you start understanding the data, then you will mature, you can create a mature AI model, right? So that is why it's very important, don't torture the data. Because the today's topic is more inclined towards this forecasting techniques. So I just thought to give you a clue before that how forecasting techniques you can apply it. Okay, so in this image you can see the northeast monsoon rains to last southern peninsular India from October 29. It's some kind of a forecasting you typically see in newspaper, right? So IMD, there are different organizations, they predicted that today that the rain is gonna happen or not. So when monsoon is gonna hit in northern coastal region, maybe somewhere in the Kerala, or maybe in the south region, right? Or maybe in the Bay of Bengal, right? So these are the predictions, these are forecasting. Okay, so you forecast based on historical data. If you have historical data, for example, of 12 years, 15 years, more years, for example 100 years of a data if you have of some weather, right? So you can easily predict that, today's what the temperature, the pressure, the humidity and everything, and when rain gonna happen or not. So the forecasting techniques is, they rely on the historical data, the data which you have collected, right? So the more data, if you have a more data, the more volume of the data, more variety of the data, more veracity of the data, right? So when you have these kind of a features inside your data set, so more likely is your model is going to give you a right predictions. And your model, for example, if your model is giving, let's say 90 to 95% of a predictions, it doesn't mean your model is good enough, because the model sometime behave, sometime if you have collected data, your data is more skewed, maybe the right is skewed and left is skewed. In coming, coming weeks, I will be telling you how, you can remove this skewness if your data is rightly skewed or they are left skewed, because it's gonna impact your final result, because the predictions which you are gonna get at the end will be impacted by this kind of, the skewness. Okay, so that is why don't go by the prediction result, the accuracy part 90 to 95%. And if you are getting, let's say 90 to 95% of the accuracy, don't celebrate early, because sometime, your model on a unseen data is not gonna give you the right predictions. So you have to check your data, right? So, and whether there is some kind of anomaly, some kind of, obviously the torturing of the data, which I have already talked about. Okay, so just to give you, food for thought, I just thought to give you, just to initiate this way, so that you can understand that how forecasting works and how, in a real world, people do use forecasting techniques. Okay, so there is also this image, this kind of, news you might be getting it, the rains and all that. So you can connect with the business also, that how, the forecasting techniques works in business, right? In a real business. For example, I just want to forecast the stock's price. So obviously, to predict any stock price, whether I have to hold the stock, I want to buy it, or I want to sell it, there are a three-way out, right? So how I gonna do that? For that, obviously, you have some kind of a data, historical data. Obviously, you are capturing historical data, and based on the behavior of all the data, you are going to predict it, whether you want to hold the stock, you want to buy it, or you want to sell it. Okay, so these are the some applications where you can use it for forecasting also, because there is something called a time series analysis. So I'm just giving you an idea that how forecasting alone will not work. Also, there is some kind of a time element attached with it. So data, let's say if you have a one element of a data, then other element would be the time, because it's a time dependent. Whenever you forecast anything, you are forecasting based on, obviously the base is time. So on x-axis, you will have always the time factor in it. So the forecasting will always work, and obviously when you have a time factor. Okay, so that is why this the selling of the stock, buying and holding. Obviously there is some on x-axis, there is some element of a time. So time is very much critical. So that is why there are many algorithms in forecasting techniques. Just let me take few names: ARIMA, SARIMA. You might have heard that. So there are many techniques which you can apply. Okay, so these are the some forecasting techniques which I have talked about, and this is just the base of it, and how, in real world typically you use it, the forecasting techniques, for many purposes, for business, for the weather, for example, for in economics and all that. So you can use it in any industry if you have historical data and there is some element of a time attached to it. Okay, so then comes, what is a time series? Okay, so time series is obviously kind of you can say a sequence. For example, right now here, we have some kind of historical data, which I have already talked about. So a time series is sequence taken at successive equally spaced points in time, right? For example, sometime you might have seen, in festive seasons, there are many goods which price, goes high, and sometime their price may drop, and they give you some kind of a discounts to, they just balkanize it because they just balkanize the revenue. If they are giving you some kind of offer, obviously they have some kind of a time series data that, in a festive season, obviously more people are gonna buy this product, so why not to give some kind of a discount? So how they come up with this kind of a decisions? So obviously they have some kind of historical data. So based on those historical data, they design different discounts, maybe 10%, 5%, maybe depending on how they're gonna, uh, they're gonna project it. Okay. So, so uh, I mean, you might have seen this kind of, discounts being given to customers. But at the same time, if you apply it in a stock, maybe you can apply it, different industry. Maybe, for example, in education sectors, maybe if you have some kind of educational portal, right? So how many, the students is gonna get some kind of, the AIML project. So you just try to, forecast it. Okay. So maybe the demand and supply kind of a thing. Let's say demand of AIML, the certification is right now, on peak. So each and everyone wants to get into this AIML domain. So the people who are in this ed tech, they try to forecast it. Okay, yeah, let's say 10 lakh or 15 lakhs of, the people who are in industry may be likely to get some kind of, AIML certification, right? So they target those people. Okay. So the also, what are the timing typically, people get, they try to get some kind of a certification, maybe in April or May, maybe in August, September. They just forecast it because there are many professionals who just want to switch it, right? So obviously there is some kind of a time element attached to it. So it's not about the one industry. You can apply this forecasting techniques. You can apply it in many industry. Also in healthcare industry, you can apply this time series data, right? So there are many sectors. I'm saying this concept is unique, and if you know this concept, how you can apply the sophisticated algorithms. Okay, so the algorithms are many, but you have to understand the data first and the business logic, because the business logic, if you understand the business logic, and if you understand the, how you can apply it, uh, the data, whatever data you have, right? So this can work both way. So my point is that you understand both, I mean the business logic as well as the data. Just try to understand, if you have given some kind of a data, just try to understand that, the pattern of the data first, and then you try applying different sophisticated algorithms. Okay. So the time series, if you see on the right side, there is some historical, curves. You can see this is the time dependent. Okay. And now this one, you have this unseen, the predicted, this is the future part. So they have predicted based on the historical data, right? So they have a, they had some historical data patterns. These are some time dependent data, and now based on this historical data, they are predicting it. So it's a future prediction, some kind of a future, what stocks is gonna behave, right, in 2026, maybe in 2025, if I have a data up to 2024, right? And maybe how much rain fall would be in 2025 and 2026. So they planned it. Okay. So obviously these kind of a time series, data is very much valid in different industry. So yeah. So coming to this, this time series. So you have some kind of historical data. You might have heard of this predictive analytics. So obviously when you talk about this forecasting technique, So you are talking about this predictive analytics. So there is something called descriptive analytics. I'm assuming that you know all these things maybe in the previous classes. So there is something called descriptive, there is something called predictive analytics, and there is something called prescriptive. So sometimes you provide some kind of a solution. So for example, in operation research, so you might have heard of some kind of maybe linear programming and all that. I am not good in this prescriptive analytics, so it's part of this operation research. So the prescriptive one is you come up with some kind of a solutions, you prescribe something, right? But predictive is more into this forecasting techniques. So we will be focusing in coming weeks this predictive analytics only. So it's a part of this forecasting. You're forecasting the future, right? So, and there are many way out to obviously predict the future. Let's say if you have some kind of a real time data, right? For example, social media data, sometimes you are getting in real time, right? And now you just want to forecast it. Maybe something, if you have some kind of a huge case and you just want to forecast it, right? Maybe how many numbers of subscribers, maybe if you have some YouTube channel and you just want to just forecast it that maybe in 1 year or maybe in 6 months, how many people is gonna subscribe it, okay? The kind of maybe the kind of content you are producing it through that social media, maybe the YouTube or maybe the Instagram, right? So how many users is gonna subscribe you, right? And obviously there is some kind of a finance attached with it. For example, if you have a 10K subscriber, maybe you are getting, let's say, $100, right? So there are many maybe the ad tech, right? So they just try to upload some kind of a video and they earn, right, based on the subscribers, based on the views, based on the the likes, and based on the comments, okay? So there is also here there is also a time series kind of a data, you can say, that can help also the YouTube YouTubers to help understand that how they can accelerate the number of subscribers. They understand the pattern, right? So there is something called that is why the real time is more into, the data is coming, let's say T-1 at T-1. It's obviously, and then you just try to analyze it, okay? So that I mean the how your data is gonna behave, right? So T is like the time, I mean the data which is coming, for example the social media data, a day, let's say a day before, right? So a day before data would become the historical data, right? So based on that you try to analyze it. And also if you go with this a stock market data, so in a stock market data also some kind of a real-time analytics is involved in it. So you try to predict the future based on it, and try to understand the the patterns in the data and all that, okay? So the descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. So these are the three things which I will be also covering it, but the more my focus would be on this predictive analytics, because yeah, our entire this syllabus is more into this this predictive one. And there are many algorithms, so I will be talking about. So for example, if you see this one, IMF GDP growth projections of 2020, it's a older the picture. So if you see how there is some this organization IMF, okay, International Monetary Fund. So they obviously in the every years they predicted, they project some kind of GDP growth, okay? If you see India is somehow on top, maybe in the 7.4, and maybe the Germany is at the bottom, right? So every year they try to predict it, that how your every single country, how their GDP is gonna behave, right? And based on this, every country come up with different kind of a policy making is also very much important. So the base idea of obviously this kind of policy making is obviously your forecasting techniques. So they just forecast it, And once they have this kind of, let's say, 7.4 for India, maybe 2022, the GDP would be somewhere, it will land somewhere in, the 7.4%, the growth would be 7.4% in 2022, let's say. So the IMF also, the projections gives you, for local company, or maybe, sorry, for government, and for, the international, the organizations, it gives you a kind of, you can say, the idea that whether, how you're gonna polish your domestic policy, and maybe your internal, as well as what would be your external policy. So these all are driven to this kind of growth projections. Okay, so uh, my idea would be just to go and check, this kind of projections, and also the data, because obviously these kind of reports are driven by this historical data. If you see this GDP growth and all that, so also okay, sorry, just give me a minute, someone is calling. Just sorry. Hello. Okay, so now let me come back to this slide. So there are different kind of the intelligence. Hope my screen is visible. So you might have seen this movie called Terminator, maybe 15-20 years back. So now you might have heard of this Chat GPT, different kind of a sophisticated the chat bots, maybe different kind of you can say large language model, different kind of this bots and all that. So the reason for this one, just let me just refresh this this different kind of AI maturity. So now there are different there are three the AI typically right now. There is something called artificial narrow intelligence. Obviously it's a first stage of machine learning, so it's called ANI, right? So now, right now, we are just stepping towards AGI, that is artificial general intelligence. So this Chat GPT and everything somewhere falls under this AGI, right? So now you might have heard of new, this the parallel of this Chat GPT is DeepSeek. The Chinese, the Chinese people have developed this. So now there are many, this kind of, the AI agents. Typically, we call it AI agents. So the Chat GPT, maybe the Gemini, maybe if you have DeepSeek, there is something called Qwen, QWEN of Alibaba, right? So there are many more. This agentic AI, typically we call it agentic AI.
It's a
So
co-pilot also.
yeah, Copilot also. There are many more. I think you can search it out, and now entire market would be flooded with these AI agents. So now people are projecting 2025 as a agentic AI era, right? So the people who are into this generative AI, they have advantage, right? So obviously the forecasting techniques, all that, these are the base of it. Okay. So in maybe I will be showing you how this DeepSeek, maybe the Chat GPT, and how the agentic AI works typically. Okay. On I will be showing you some kind of a demo, right? So how it works. But right now we are in ANI, and because it's called a machine learning, we are here right now, machine learning, right? But when this DeepSeek, Chat GPT, when they are maturing, when their data is maturing, so somehow we are coming from stage one, we are stepping from stage one to stage two, right? So, but the main goal of artificial intelligence and the people who are working, the researchers and all, just to go from a step two to a step three. It's a the artificial super intelligence. So how how we can the AI models, the agentic AI is going to compete with the humans. So we are trying to replace human with the AI agents. So in coming years, maybe your reception would be replaced with AI agents. Maybe your air flight scheduling would be replaced with AI agent. Maybe the e-commerce and all that, it will be replaced with AI agents. So one of the small example of this, this AI agent is your this Alexa, right? Because I haven't used it, but it's a Alexa. So whenever you say anything to Alexa, they understand the command and they interpret it and they reply you back, right? So the Alexa is even the smallest version of this. You can say the AGI, right? So I mean, my point is that so once your data is maturing and once we are when researchers are working on different kind of algorithms, we are stepping towards this is step three, right? You are making the algorithm so that it would become super intelligent, right? So now there are three the part of this artificial intelligence. But if you see this this slide here, so there is also on top of it there is a machine learning, so and there is a deep learning and there is something called a reinforcement learning. So the chat gpt and all this they have some element of reinforcement learning, right? So obviously if some they understand it, because whenever you give a prompt to a model, they also on a feedback, because they are constantly getting feedback from the users, each and every one, right? So sometime how to prompt it, because prompt is some kind of a structured way of giving some kind of instructions to AI agent model, agentic AI model, right? So the way you are giving, you are framing your the prompt, uh, the same manner your reply is gonna come back from this kind of a chatbot, right? So you must be sure enough that how you frame your this agentic AI, right? So it's a part of deep learning and reinforcement learning. It's on top of it because they use some kind of a neural network. So whenever you have an element of a neural network, so you are somehow falling under this deep learning, right? And also in forecasting techniques in coming weeks, I will be showing you how you can apply this deep learning techniques. Because deep learning is like machine learning is the first phase. You can say there are many patterns. Maybe machine, the machine learning models is not gonna decipher it. But when you apply this deep learning techniques, it's like on top of it, you are also try to understand that what is the hidden pattern inside your data, right? So that is why these deep learning techniques work well, and that is why there is some accuracy part. When you see, when you apply machine learning and deep learning, you will see the difference in this prediction accuracy and all that. But when you apply this deep learning, there is a concept called a black box. So I may be right now I'm just using this black box, and I will be explaining you what is a black box. So whenever you use these deep learning techniques, you get a result, that is fine, but you don't know how your model is giving you the result. So that is why it is called a black box, right? So when you see this artificial intelligence and the machine learning and deep learning, there is a small difference, right? So in machine learning, you have feature structure and the feature part, okay? So in machine learning, obviously I'm not explaining this artificial intelligence because obviously it's a bigger umbrella and where your machine learning and deep learning falls inside it, okay? But what makes different from machine learning and deep learning, right? So in machine learning, feature structure and the feature part happens in a different the block, right? But in deep learning it happens in a single block. It, that is why it's a black, right, black box, because it happening in a single layer. If you see, in deep learning you have a DL algorithms, it's a single layer. But where in machine learning you have a feature structure and a feature in a separate block. That is why it's a opaque model. Machine learning models are opaque model. You can see through it that how your model is behaving, right? For example, if you have a 4 input features, and let's say you are predicting a revenue of a company, and let's say you have a 5 different input to it. So you are providing 5 different input and you are predicting the revenue of a particular company. So how your model is going to behave? So there will be an element called a feature structure, and there will be, and then on top of it you will be training your machine learning algorithm. So you know the weights of it. For example, there are different sophisticated machine learning algorithms. There is something called decision tree, random forest, naive Bayes, k nearest neighbor, logistic regression, gradient boosting. It goes on. There are many more. So, and depending on what you want to predict it, okay. But in deep learning, it happens in a single block. If you see this one, there is something called a DL algorithm. So that is why it makes your deep learning model as a black box. You don't know how the input which you are giving and how your output is coming up. You don't know, because it's a kind of black box, right? So that is why, but on top of it, machine learning is opaque model. Okay, so my point is that if you see this one, machine learning, so typically we have a supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and a reinforcement learning. Okay, so I'm just giving you a foundation that because the foundation is something, if it is strong, then you can understand the forecasting techniques and all that. And forecasting somewhere falls in supervised and unsupervised, right? So let's say I'm just giving you a basic of machine learning here. So there might be a case where you have to classify it. In supervised learning, you have something called a classification and a regression. Okay, so maybe you just want to classify it. Okay, so let me show you another PPT. Just let me pull out other PPT so that you can understand. Hope this screen is visible to you. Okay, so if you see this one, if you see if you typically say that supervised learning, your data is labeled enough, and if it is unsupervised, your data is unlabeled. Okay, but what is labeling of a data and unlabeling of a data, that is more important, because sometimes people get confused that what you are saying when you are saying that data is labeled, right? So what does it mean, right? So if you see this image, so here if you see data is unlabeled or labeled, right? And the left side without label, there is a Coke can, but there is a no label to it. You don't know, you cannot identify whether it's a Coke or not, right? So it's a case of a classification, right? A data, let's say in a classification case, let's say data must be labeled, but let's say your data is unlabeled, so it will be unsupervised. So why typically we do labeling of a data? Because we want our machine to understand that this is a Coke, right? And this is a not Coke. So that is why the labeling of data is more important. Okay, so obviously the people also if you go in a market and if you see this kind of a can, you don't gonna buy it. If if it's written Coca-Cola, then only you're gonna buy it, right? So labeling is very much important to identify, right? So the same way machine works, when they see the labels, then only they understand the patterns. Okay, let's say if there is a red can and there is on the top of it it's written Coca-Cola, then model is gonna store it that okay, red and Coca-Cola, it will store it, right? And if it is red and if there is a no Coca-Cola written to it, they're gonna discard it, right? So the labeled data will help you to train the model. That is why the labeling is more important, right? If you see this one, without label and with label. Okay, so there is a case here in the supervised learning. Let's say if you have a training data, right, a raw data, let's say, just see this case here. So let's say I have inside my training data there is apples and cupcakes, okay, and I just want to distinguish it whether if a new maybe a new variety of food comes in, let's say, okay. So how my model is going to identify whether it's apple or cupcake? So this is a classical case of a binary classification, right? So I just want to classify whether it's apple or cupcakes, okay. So the binary classification, there are many algorithms. For example, logistic regression is the one of the basic algorithms where it can be used as a classifier. So let's say in a historical data, in a training data, you have this kind of the data instances to it. You have a five, let's say, rows of a data, cupcakes, right, and apples. But when your model is trained, now your model is trained, now you just want to expose your model with the unseen or unlabeled data, right? So how your model is going to behave? If you see, if this is, let's say, unseen, and if you pass it to the machine learning model, they're going to classify it as a cupcake. Why they have classified it as a cupcake? Because in historical data they have a trained this instances, trained rows, right? They have some kind of cupcake inside your historical data. So based on the patterns of the training data, when you pass this unseen data to it, your model is gonna easily understand that this is your cupcake, right? So this is how your supervised model works, because data is labeled. You are seeing your training data set that this is cupcake and this is apple. If you see this kind of image, just label it as a cupcake. If you see this kind of image, label it as apples, okay. So this is why this is how this supervised model works, okay. I'm just showing you how this unsupervised machine learning works, okay. So I'm just giving you a visual way to understand that the unsupervised. So when it comes to unsupervised learning, so the data would be unlabeled. Your model, obviously your machine is not going to understand that the label of it, because you are just passing the entire data. The data is not labeled. If you are passing, let's say you are not telling this red in the fruit as an apple, you are not labeling it, you're just passing it, okay. So that is why this is very much important. uh, you know uh, this is very much important in labeling and unlabeling of data, because the data here, if you see this orange part, okay, so orange part is this your model is not going to understand that this is your orange, right? Because you are not labeling it. But if your data is unlabeled, how you gonna obviously how you gonna train the model, right? That is unsupervised machine learning, right? So algorithms are gonna interpret it, and there are many sophisticated algorithms. There is something called clustering techniques, okay? So my point is that how, if your data is unlabeled, how you gonna come up with this output, right? So apple and oranges, right? So the model in unsupervised learning, you are giving entire data to the model, and the model is gonna, based on the hidden pattern or maybe the patterns, they learn it. That is something called a knowledge discovery, right? They understand the pattern, unstructured, in, you can say that if data is unlabeled, they understand the hidden pattern in it. That is something called k-means. So they just segment your data in maybe in the k equal to 3, 4, 5, depending on the number of instances. I will be giving you an idea that how your model will help you out, and also how you're gonna find it, the k value, right? So that is your this unsupervised learning, okay. But where you can apply this unsupervised learning, for example, in a sentiment analysis, you just want to understand the sentiment, or maybe you just want to segment the customers. Let's say if you have a grocery store and you just want to segment your customers, that based on their buying pattern, you have their purchasing pattern, the locations data, maybe their income data, the age, everything is there, let's say, and you don't know how to deal with this kind of a data, right? So you can straightforward apply this unsupervised learning. They will give you some kind of the idea that how you can classify this kind of customers. So, and if you are putting the label and based on this unsupervised learning, also you can put the labels that okay, this is high paying customers, maybe the medium, the paying customers, the low paying income, the customers. So this is how your this clustering techniques can work, right? So my point is that the basic of this can help you also that you understand if you know the clustering and all that will help you, because obviously you people are coming from this the MBA background and all that, so this will help you. So let me also let me start my original PPT. So we were here, okay. So the regression and clustering, so you can see this is a clustering, one segment, this is another segment, okay. And there is something called associations. You might have heard of market basket analysis and all that. So these comes under this association rule mining, right? So all this the supervised, unsupervised learning will help you also with different kind of data. And apart from this, you can also on top of it you can apply this time series analysis and all that. So the basic of the base, your base should be strong enough to understand at least. And I'm assuming that you people understand this, okay. So there are many you can say the visuals I have used just to make you understand that how classification, regression and clustering works, okay. Just leave it this reinforcement learning right now, but just stick towards this supervised and unsupervised learning, because when it comes to classification and regression, you will be dealing with some kind of the time series data, and also in clustering, okay. But clustering, majority of the time you use it in segmentation kind of a thing. If you have customers data, maybe the historical data, and your data is not labeled, right? You just want to understand what your data says about all these things. So this is how the clustering works, right? So I mean, there are different value of the stages of this business analytics. You know that, but let me just go through it, because the descriptive, when you say a descriptive, more into dashboarding and all that. For example, you might have used maybe the Tableau, Power BI. You might have. So it's more into this descriptive, So just you see the what kind of some kind of EDA. There is something called exploratory data analysis. So descriptive is more into this EDA part of a thing. You just want to understand if your maybe your maybe some kind of a data is thrown to you, and you just want to understand, right, that what my data is saying, what kind of pattern is there, the different KPIs you just want to understand. There are different KPIs for a different domain, right? Maybe the healthcare, you might be seeing the number of patients, they have certain kind of a disease, maybe the insurance and all that, right? So that come under descriptive. Maybe in the finance part, you might be seeing how many people are, the monthly income, whose monthly income is higher, maybe which part of, the India, which state has a higher, maybe the expenditure, maybe, who are availing this service or not. So these kind of a KPIs, you try to track it through this dashboard, right? So these are some descriptive, what has happened previously to the data. With the historical data, you try to do it some kind of a descriptive analysis pre-hand before making it a model and all that, right? Then comes this diagnostic one. I mean, obviously, why and how it happened is more important. For example, you just want to understand, some kind of a sentiment analysis and all that. Maybe if you have maybe you just launched a product in a market, and you just want to understand the sentiment of that product, what people are talking about, right? Maybe you have rolled out some kind of a AI product, right? So related with the healthcare and what people are talking about this product, right? You just want to understand it, that just diagnosing it, that what has happened, right, and how it is happening. So this kind of a thing will fall under this kind of analysis will fall under diagnostic, right? You're trying to diagnose it. And then comes predictive one. So predictive one is obviously, I told you, some kind of forecasting. You're gonna do that, right? So there are different way, and one of the technique is forecasting. Maybe you come up with some kind of a simulation, right? And some kind of a predictive modeling, pattern matching, exploratory analysis and all that. So the more sophisticated algorithm is going to fall under this predictive analytics, where if you are trying to create some kind of a model, right? Some kind, you are applying some kind of a machine learning model, right? Maybe a deep learning model, maybe some kind of a gen AI concept, generative AI concept, the large language model. Maybe you will be applying some kind of APIs and all that, right? The open AI APIs to predict something. So there are many way out. You can use it in a predictive analytics, right? And also the prescriptive one, obviously the operational research, majority part falls under the operational research and all that. You're trying to optimize the solutions and come up with some kind of precise solutions. Maybe you take help of a simulation, right? So the prescriptive obviously gives you some kind of how to determine that it will happen, some kind of what you it gonna happen, right? So this will fall somewhere in the prescriptive analytics. Okay, so there are many algorithms. I'm just summarizing it, right? Machine learning model, and which we people will be using it in coming weeks. For example, if you want to predict, right? So it will fall under some kind of a supervised learning. On the left side, if you see, we are predicting a numerical value, right? Some kind of a numerical value. So maybe a regression, simple linear regression, multiple linear. So in simple linear regression, you have a one input to it and try to predict a value, right? So that is your this supervised learning. And there are many regression techniques, Bayesian neural network, right? And also in a classification, you are categorizing, right? Maybe you are categorizing a customers, like for example, there may be a customer you just want to predict whether they're gonna buy certain product or not. The likelihood of the customers, they're gonna buy your service or not. For example, some people gonna buy your insurance service or not, and based on that, there are many people who just try to give you a call, right? That okay, sir, you just want to take this service or not. Maybe if you have a loan data, and maybe ICICI Bank, let's say, just they give you a call that, sir, I just want to offer this much amount of a loan. So how they come up with this, they segment it, but before that they predict it, they classify the customers, obviously the based on your maybe the salary, age, maybe your demography, maybe the education and all that experience. So there are many more factors. They create a sophisticated model. On top of it, they just classify it, they categorize it, and then they come up and then they target the audience that who gonna buy it, right? So there are many more sophisticated supervised algorithms. For example, logistic regression, KNN, knife based decision tree, ensemble tree. So these are the random forest, you might have heard of. It's a more of a ensemble tree, support vector machine, neural network. So these are some supervised learning, because supervised, but the data is your data is some kind of a categorical. Maybe the these all works as a classifier as well as a regression also, right? But majority of the time, this kind of algorithms people do use it for a classification purposes. Okay, and then comes this clustering, where data is unsupervised. You don't know, you only have a input data, only have a features. For example, a customer's data, historical customers data. Let's say there is some, let's say Pantaloon. They have a historical data of, let's say for 5 years, they have collected the historical data, but the owner of the company doesn't know how to use this historical data. They don't have a clue because the data is not labeled. They have just a repository of this data, and they just want to investigate it, and they just want to understand the data, what their data says all about. Because if your historical data, obviously what kind of analysis you can apply. So for example, you are hired as a business consultant, and you are given an task to understand the entire data and come up with some kind of a solution. Obviously you people are in
people are doing this MBA, right? So what kind of a solution you gonna propose it, right? So obviously you will take help of this clustering technique at least to understand the hidden pattern in the data, because data is not labeled, and maybe possible that data might be labeled, but if you understand the first, your approach would be to go with the clustering techniques. You feed in the entire data to a model, and what your model gonna give you, the segments and all that. So the first approach would be your clustering, and then you can come up with this some kind of a classification, maybe some kind of a predictions. Okay, so this is how it works. The approach of solving any business problem, if your data is unlabeled, you don't know about the data, the first approach would be to go with this clustering techniques, and then you find it out. Once your clustering is done, then you just go with this prediction and classification. I mean, this kind of categorical and numerical predictions. Okay. So this is all for today, and maybe in coming classes we will start with the Python and all that. Okay, so today I'm just winding up, and if you have any query, then you can ask. Okay, so if you have any query, then you can ask. Okay, Sakshi, do you have any query?
Yes, sir. Sir, I would like to say something.
Yeah, yeah.
As we had a talk regarding 3 classes a week, so I would
Mm-hmm.
request that one class can be held on Friday, and the 2 classes can be held on Saturdays, so that
Yeah, ma'am.
we
Yeah, ma'am.
expedite the course, because there is limited time for this course, as we have to wind up by March end, or maybe mid of April we have to wind up by that time. So
Mm-hmm.
unless we, include more classes and uh, faculty, if you are not able to give time on Friday, then in that
Yeah, actually, I will be trying to cover maximum of the topics on Saturday, because today I just thought to give the basic of it, because
yeah.
I just don't want to bore the participants today,
Uh,
because
if you
yeah.
want, you can start one session of Python. You can. They are already aware of Python programming. If you want, you can continue till 1 p.m. with Python.
Mm-hmm.
Up to you.
Okay. Okay, I do have this Python and all that. So I'm just okay. So let me extend it, because I just thought to wind it up, but let me just pull out the PPT for Python. How to, because in syllabus, how to install the Python and all that. So
Uh, they must be having either Jupyter Notebook or the other platform. I just am not able to recall. So,
Jupyter is there, also the VS Code, Google Colab is there,
Collab, yes.
Google Colab is there, so they might be using it. So
And
yeah,
when R programming also.
which one? R programming.
Yes, sir, R Studio.
R Studio is typically because but I would suggest to go with this Python, because R is, yeah, that is used, but in industry I have seen people are using this Python only, and the forecasting techniques people do use this Python programming and all that. So my submission would be to go with this Python only, because R is not being used. I'm not saying stuff about that it is not being used, but majority of the time people do use this Python programming. So go with this Google Colab. So yeah, let me extend the session, and we have.
At least some introduction to forecasting using Python can be done, maybe up to 1 o'clock, maybe 1:10 up to.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
sure, sure, sure.
next session they can continue with the analytical part.
Yeah,
Students, be there in the session. You are not supposed to leave. Those who are leaving in between, this is being taken very seriously. And moreover, not everybody has joined. There is a strength of 40. Sakshi, what is the strength of your class?
Ma'am, around 40, 30, 45, 30, 40.
Just send me the list of students who have not attended the class, who have not come in the class after this class. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, sir, kindly continue.
Yeah. I'm just continuing. I do have a this slide. So yeah. So let me continue with this. Okay, just give me a minute. Just a minute. Okay, so okay, so uh, programming I do have. Sakshi, can you confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Screen
Yeah,
is.
okay. So I'm just I think okay. Can you tell me in Python programming how you people are comfortable with? I mean, what you people know? Because I don't know. I mean, in previous classes, do you have any analytics class related with Python or all? Do you have any? Yeah, Sakshi.
Yes, sir. We are doing right now pandas file transfer. Yes, sir.
No. Do you have any? Just tell me. Is there any? I mean, related with Python machine learning. You have any class with any course with Python programming and all that? Do you have any?
Yes, sir. Fundamental of Python programming.
Okay. So you have already done that course.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So up to what level? I mean, pandas. Have you done that? There's a library called pandas. Python
No,
pandas.
sir. We are doing
Sorry.
right now pandas.
Just can you speak a bit louder?
Sir, we are doing pandas in this semester, sir.
Okay. Okay. So pandas and there is also scikit-learn and all that. So it's a basic and what is the syllabus? Up to what level? Is there any kind of a regression techniques you are being taught there? Is there that element is there? Regression or it's a basic of Python? Because in the syllabus, if you see
We
what
are doing
syllabus,
the basic also, bus.
sorry.
So we are just done basics.
Okay, basics. Okay. So today I'm just giving you the pandas and all that, how you're gonna use it because it's in your syllabus also in forecasting techniques. Okay. So if you see this one, I'm just giving you idea. Okay. So let's say today I'm just giving you an idea. Okay. There is one of the library called this pandas. Okay. So I will be also showing you, how to, use this pandas library. Okay. So whenever you just want to import any data, right? Let's say it's in Excel format or CSV format, right? So if your data is in CSV or Excel format, maybe it's called flat file, right? So how you gonna use it? The first step, in the Google Colab. Maybe I will be using Google Colab, okay, or maybe the Jupyter Notebook. You can use it, and also the VS Code, because if you must know how to code, that is more important. And this kind of IDE, integrated development in environment, that is secondary part, okay. But I will be sticking towards the Google Colab or maybe the Jupyter Notebook, okay, because they do have a same interface, right? So one of the library is pandas library. Okay, so pandas library is it's a base. Okay, and it is used for data manipulations because whenever you have some kind of a CSV or Excel flat file, right,
and you just want to manipulate the data, right? Manipulating means you just want to add something, you want to delete something, or you want to some kind of EDA, that is called exploratory data analysis. Okay, so that is kind of you are manipulating with the data, you are playing with the data, right? So in that case, you have to use this pandas library, because pandas library is it's a base of this Python programming. And if you become some way, if you become a data maybe the business analytics and business analyst, if you become a business analyst, you will be using this kind of this libraries for some kind of analysis. Okay, so for example, the starting is, let's say, import pandas as PD, right? Typically we do write like this. Okay, I will be showing you how to use it. Okay, so for example, if you see this one, indexing and slicing and all that. Okay, so if you have a data like this, let's say, just understand it. Indexing, slicing, pandas data frame. Okay, just understand this visual. So let's say in a CSV you have a columns like name, age, marks, grade, and hobby. Okay, you have been giving this kind of a data, right? And you have a rows like this. Okay, so how you gonna slice and index it? I just want, let's say my manager said that I just want the people who have marks more than 85. Okay, just print that the candidate. Maybe my manager is saying that no, I just want candidate with highest percentage, lowest percentage, or maybe the hobby is, let's say, painting heritage written. I just want that row to be printed. I just want that the information, right? So this is some kind of a slicing, and you are extracting the data, right? So I mean, I'm just giving you the base that where you can use it first. Okay, I mean, why it is required to understand the basic of the Python programming, because it's not like that you are very good in Python programming, but what kind of information you require, right? So obviously if you have this kind of data, right? So maybe it's not like that you would be requiring every single rows and columns, but the most important is that what kind of information is required, right? What kind of a data have a value to it, right? So this is called index number. If you see this one, S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, this is indexing, row indexing. And this is your column, right? Name, age, mark, these all things you know, right? So column indexing is there for 0th column and 0th row, it's a job, right? So this will help you in EDA part, right? So for example, my data is stored somewhere. I'm just showing you. Import data as PD, you typically do it, and then import numpy as NP, because these are the two libraries you required to interact with any kind of a flat file, maybe the CSV or Excel, right? My data is stored somewhere here, right? Data.csv, and the path is this one. So df equal to pd.read CSV, because the file is in CSV format, right? I'm just trying to read it. So this is a function. I'm passing the entire, in double quote, because it's somewhere in in URL, right? Also I can save it locally, but my data is somewhere here, right? If I hit this data and the df data frame, my data looks like this. Okay, if you see this one, there is a one column NAM, the value is missing. Their pay is not reflected here. Okay, and for example, through coding I just want to fill it. Okay, I don't need to go with the this CSV file and then I have to add this one, that for example 2000, 3000. I will use this Python programming and I will call this this row 1 and column 3, and I'm gonna fill it the value, okay, the missing value, let's say. Okay, so now you are able to display the data, what was inside your data, because you just know that what is a row and column, that is more important, right? So now you just want to print the skills of what are the skills given in your data set. If you see these skills, Python, JavaScript, your manager is saying just print me these skills. I just want a list of skills people have, right? So Python, JavaScript, and Python. So what you're gonna use? DF skills, right? So DF skills will give you the all sorts of the the unique. It will not give you the unique. All the rows of the rows inside that skills are being printed, right? So the Python, JavaScript, the Python. So you have a 5 number of records, and the people who have taken Python is higher, right? The 3 people have taken Python and 2 in JavaScript. Okay. So DF and double quote skills. So this is how you're gonna extract this information, right? And the same way, if you're required to also the skill with the employment ID, you just want to fetch the employment ID, you have to do this DF employee ID and skills. Okay, so this will give you the skills attached with this employee ID, right? Okay, so this is just a small programming, but this will require as a business analyst, because if you join it as a business analyst, you have to play with this EDA, exploratory data analysis. Maybe you will not be asked to create some kind of a machine learning model, but on top of it, you have to be very good in this exploratory data analysis. You must know this basic of this Python programming, and whenever required to extract the only the informations, because these kind of informations are very much critical. Because if you give them the employee ID and skills, I mean, maybe in the, let's say in one of the the client which I was working with, they required this kind of information, that how many people are enrolled in certain schemes. Let's say Pradhan Mantri Kausal Vikas Yojana. They just wanted to understand the number of enrollment, the number of dropouts. They just wanted how many people are enrolling a particular the courses in online, the offline, how many girls childs are enrolled in. So this kind of analysis will help you through this Python program only, if you have the tools and all that. So this will help you, right? And also you just want to print only the 2 rows and all the the first 2 rows, and you want all the columns to be printed. So DF 0, and you have to put like this. Okay, so they're gonna print you the first 2 rows, and also you can use it head 2, whenever you just write head 2, so this will the print it. This will print like this. Okay, so the informations are there are different way to interact with a CSV, right? And display the content or information desired, right? So this is how you can print it, right? So also you just these are the some EDA. These we typically call it EDA, to understand that the base the basic informations of a data set, inside data set. I mean, the key information, you can say the key KPIs, you just want to understand it. Okay, and you just want to maybe the age, pay, name also you just want to print. Okay, here we are also printing this way, and also we just want the rows and columns. Maybe we just want the employee ID to be printed. Okay, so 0, 4 and 2. So it is also mentioned if you, let's say, it will start at 0, row 0, and increment by step 2. Okay, you have to increment 2. For example, I just want only employee ID, even employee ID, first and 2, maybe 4, 6, 8. So this is how you have to give DF inside DF, because data is saved in DF data frame. DF equal to read.csv. That is why you're using DF. Maybe if I'm using DF1, I have to change it. Okay, we just want a row to be printed by the increment of 2. Okay, so this is how we typically program it. Okay, so now let's say we just want to print let's say the name. We are just setting the index as a name. So my first index was the employee ID, but now I'm setting my index as a name here. So all the name is gonna come first, because I'm setting index as a name. If I set index as, let's say, employee ID, it will come here. Maybe if I set index as skills, I just want to print skills here, so I'm gonna put the skill here. Maybe I just want to segregate based on the age, and I just like to put age here, so that I can understand the which age group is picking Python and which age group is picking this JavaScript, right? So you have to play with this this programming, that how we want to display the data, right? Maybe because if name is coming, we can easily understand, okay, the name employee ID is 21 and the age is 35, they are taking this Python programming. And maybe you are asked to give the pattern that which age group is targeting which the skills. So on top of it, you have to apply this kind of a filtering technique, this kind of a sorting technique. You will sort it out that this age group, maybe between 30 to 35, they are taking this Python, right? So the Python is, let's say, on top of it, majority of the people are taking Python, okay, the skills. So I mean, not only you have to do programming, but also you have to understand that why people are asking you to program it like that, okay? Because ultimately it's not like you have to just write a piece of code. Also you have to understand that why I'm just doing this, and why you have to display it, because ultimately people have to use it somewhere. People have to take some kind of a decisions, right? So that is why not only go with the code, also understand that how you're going to code it, right? And why people are asking you, right? And also, for example, let's say, and you just want to print this df here, if you see, and this is JavaScript, Python, age, and all that. So in between this these two names, you have to print all this increment of 1, okay? That is why this is printing with the employee ID and all that, okay? And now we just want to attach age with these three the names. So that is why if you will see their names are being populated here with the age, okay? So these are some structure, the schema, you can say. You can use it in a Python, because in Excel you can do it, that is fine. But let's say you are just being asked to use it in a Python, because Python have a small the programming. You can write just a simple 1 or 2 lines of a code, and you can easily do that, okay? So there is a function called iloc. The iloc, how you're gonna use this iloc. So I will be also showing you maybe how you can program it, and I will be sharing you this. So iloc is, let's say, just selecting a single row. Just I want to select a single row, so I will use iloc, okay? The single row, skills, age, pay, name, okay? So these are inside my single row, okay? So iloc, if I use 1, it's gonna print the second row, okay? Third row, iloc 2, 3, 4, right? So you have to understand that different functions, how you can use it, iloc and many more, okay? So df iloc 0 and 1, the rows, the first 1 and second rows, the 0 and 1, and they are giving you the names and all that. This is also the alternate of df iloc 0, 1 and double quote. You can also just print df dot head 2. So df dot head 2 and df iloc double quote 0, 1 will work same way, because you are just saying just print the first 2 rows, the rows which are starting with the first 2 rows, okay? So if you know the the alternate command, you can easily code it. But if you are only asked to use this iloc command, this is how you can use it, okay? So if there is something called df iloc 03, so you are just printing the the first and third column, okay, 0 and third column. maybe you are asked to print 0 and maybe 100th column, that maybe after 100 who are the people there, right? Maybe 0 and 100, you just want to see the sample. Let's say you being asked the just create a sample. Maybe you can take the help of this iloc function and to come up with this sample. Let's say 1 sample, 2 sample, 3 samples, 5 samples. Okay, so df.iloc, you can use it, and if you want a specific columns to be printed, a specific row to be printed, you know, the maybe you want maybe the 5th row and 7th row to be printed. Maybe you just want 99th row and maybe 105th row, right? You just want a two specific information, so you can use this iloc, right? So maybe selecting now in 13, selecting multiple rows and multiple columns. Now you are being asked to, you know, use this multiple rows and columns. Okay, so in first column you have this employee ID, okay, and skills. Okay, so this can print you this you know, the IDs of first rows and with multiple columns. Okay, so I mean the iloc functions, if you see iloc functions, and how you can experiment with this iloc functions. So we had this data, this one, if you go right, employee ID, skill, age and pay name, and now we are interacting, right, with this CSV file. So the one way was the df column. Once we have a df, and then inside df we can experiment. Okay, now I'm setting index here, but I'm using this iloc function. So iloc function can do you know, you can use it for different EDA purpose. So here we have used this iloc. Now if you see you know, after iloc, if you go, just we want to print a single row and multiple column here. Okay, so for a single row and multiple column, you can use df iloc 0 and 0 1. Okay, so I mean, depending on our requirement, I mean, we can print only just want you know, employee ID and skill to be printed. I am not interested in the name of the candidate. Maybe my employee ID can work as a primary key, and I can see in my database that okay, this guy exists or not. Only the, you know, the employee ID, that is my primary key. And if I have a data somewhere, you know, the historical data, I can easily check whether this employee ID has taken this skill called a Python or not. Okay, so this can help us. This can help us a clue that okay, I will use this iloc and I will print it out. Okay, so I mean the multiple, if you want to multiple row in a single column. Okay, so we can easily print you know, 0 and 1. We just want a first the first row, this one is first and this one is second row. If you want 2, then it will print 0 1 and 2. Okay, so and only it will go and hit this employee ID because it is at 0th column. Okay, 0th column. Okay, and if you want a 2 column, you can print 2. It will give also employee ID and skills. Okay, so we have to experiment with this iloc functions. Okay, so iloc also, as I already said, 0 and 2. So now it will print, you know, selecting rows by using row index position after selecting the column as row index. Okay, so employee ID, let's say df iloc 0 and 2. Okay, so these are the two I mean you can say the candidate and their employee ID 1 2 3 and this one the pay. The first two we wanted 0th and second. Who people, I mean whosoever were in these two positions, we are able to print it. So there are different way out to interact with this CSV and also get the data out of it. Okay, if you see in 17, okay, in 17 df iloc you know, -1. Okay, and this is double you know, the column here. So it's gonna print you know, in a reverse way. If you see, they are printing in a reverse way. Okay, so in a reverse direction you just want to print. For example, sometime you just want to understand you know, maybe you can say from ascending to descending order, maybe descending to ascending order. Maybe you want your requirement is just to reverse the data, whosoever at the last I just want to be printed on the top. Maybe you have saved data incorrectly, so you have to save it at the end, but you saved it at the top, maybe possible, but you just want to reverse it, the entire CSV. How you gonna reverse it? So this reverse function with the iLock function can use it. You can use it, and you can reverse the entire data set. Okay. So now we just want maybe these are the some sophisticated, you can say the complex way to code this iLock. df1 iLock 0, 4 and 2 and the comma 0 and 2. Okay. So we are just making our the code a bit complex, but printing it the first two value. Okay. So whatever at the 0th column and 2, okay, and whatever in the 0 and 4th and 2. Okay. So let's say the row index position start at 0, stop at row 4 and increment by 2. Okay. We just want a specific columns and rows to be printed. We just want these candidates to be printed with employee ID and skills. So we are just seeing the column at 0 and at the column 2 here. Start at column 0 and at the column 2. So we are just printing employee ID and skills, but we are not printing this you can say age and all that. Okay, here. So that is why we are just printing employee ID and skills, and we are ending the column 2. Okay. Now we just want a single row to be printed, but there is a something called a lock function. Okay, selecting a single row using a lock, LOC. So df, because our data is stored somewhere in a df, and we just want to print at the lock at a 0, right, at 0th index. So how you gonna print it? df.lock, how you gonna print it? So at 0th the row, whatever there inside the one rows, we are just printing. So the name is being printed, their payout and their age, their skills, their employee ID. We are just interested in this. Okay, we are not interested in any other informations. Whatever there for this you can say written or stores in this 0th locations, we are just interested to be printed here. Maybe if we just want a first row to be printed and whatever there, maybe we just want to store the features only. Okay, we just want to know the features. For example, here it is capturing all the features: employee ID, skills, age, pay, name. All these things are being captured here, if you see, right? So they are capturing all the features. So this is one way. Other way is df.info. If you write this df.info, this is the parallel. Info is gonna capture all the features, or maybe you can say there is a df.shape. df.shape. You just want to understand that how many rows are there. For example, if there is 1 lakh of records, you are not sure in a CSV that there is 1 lakh of records. So you can just print df.shape. So df.shape is gonna give you the shape of entire file, that the size of a file. How many records are there if it is a flat file, right? And maybe we want to capture the columns. Let's say I don't know how many columns are there. Okay, how many columns are there, and I just want to understand it. Okay, so because the feature, sometime if you are building a machine learning model and you just want to understand that maybe I'm requiring only out of 15, I'm just requiring 12 or 13 features, maybe 10 features, but I don't know how what is the name of this column. So you can use it df.info. That can solve the purpose here. But we just don't want to print entire all this the df.info. You just type it out, df.log0. So this is also capturing a features that will give you a feature of the first row. Okay, so this is how it works. Now, for example, the log function, selecting a single row, Okay, in a single row, whenever you just want to your requirement is just to print the single row, so you can go and just use this lock, df.lock. Okay? So whatever inside that row, for example, I'm just passing the name of the candidate. So the name of the candidate, and passing, and on the single row, whatever information was there for this candidate, I'm capturing it. Okay. Now the log function, how you can use it in a different way, right? For example, df.log and 0 and 1. Okay. The first row and second row. Here, this is first row, let's say, or maybe you can call it the 0th row and first row. And we want to print the entire, here the entire row from 0 and 1. Maybe if you can pass it 0 and 2. So 0, 1 and 2, it can print. Okay. So the lock and iLock, how you are using, can be used interchangeably, but depending on our requirement. Okay. And as I already said, if you're here, you are just printing the first two rows. Okay. So you can use df dot head, and in bracket you can use it 2. Okay. So this is alternate way out. Okay. Now we just want, my requirement is just to print the candidate, these two candidates information only. I'm just interested in that, and their name to be printed here with all these columns. Okay. So if I change it to, let's say, if I'm passing the skills only Python, and let's say I'm just passing Python and maybe JavaScript, so it will here it will print skills, and then it will print Python and JavaScript and corresponding employee ID, ASP, and name. It will be printed. So different way you can use it. Okay. Now I just want a print to be printed, let's say, a single row and single column. Okay. So in a single row and single column, I'm just interested in to understand that what is the employee ID whose data is at 0th row. I just want to print the employee ID of a candidate whose the row is 0, who is at a 0th location. So it's saying this 21 is the employee ID. Okay, so 21 is the employee ID, or maybe you can use it like this also. Okay, not using this in a bigger bracket, you can use it past the 0 and then employee ID. So the person at 0th row, what is their employee ID is 21. Okay. Now I just want to use, let's say, I just want my skill with employee ID to be printed, but at the 0th row. So here I am just referencing a 0th row, and my interest is to print employee ID and skills. I'm just passing employee ID and skills, and I just want the people who are at 0th row, okay, to be printed. If I pass 1, the 1th row's data will be populated with employee ID and skills. Here I am just interested in, there is a slight change here. If you see, if you remove this bigger braces here, and you pass 0 employee ID and skills, so there is some change. It is just giving us 0th row locations, 0th row data, okay, but they are not giving in a tabular form. Here it is giving a tabular form, but here they are giving it in this way. 21 and Python, their employee ID is 21 and their skill is Python. Here also, if you see, this is given tabular way, this is not given a tabular way. So how you are coding it and how you want your data to be printed, that is the two case here. Here what is the requirement? I just want my candidate, this candidate, and I'm interested to display this employee ID and skills. I'm passing employee ID and skills for this candidate. So the data is being given in tabular data. So whenever you pass a bigger braces, it will give you a tabular data. So this one looks much better. I can print it like this, but this doesn't make a sense to me, right? But I want to be printed something like a tabular data, right? That is why I'm putting a bigger braces here, right? And I want a candidate, I can change it to some other candidate from the table, and I just want to be printed their detail to be printed as employee ID and skills. Okay, so this is how you can interact with the CSV and all that. Okay, now if you go with the lock and all that, okay, so you can use it. You can program it. I will be giving you the entire this PDF. You can run it, okay, because it's just a small code and you can run it. Okay, so employee ID. So at the end, if you see, let's say here, what was there? Okay, so df log 04 and these two, okay, colon 4 colon 2. Okay, so if you see, it is printing 0, 2 and 4 at the at the increment of 2. It is printing 0, 2 and 4. My requirement is, let's say I'm stopping at 4. 0, start with 0, increment with 2 and stop at 4. Okay, maybe I want to stop at 8, maybe I want to stop at 10. So it will give a data at the you can say the increment of 2 and it will stop somewhere. So this is how I just you can print it. Okay, and df1 lock 2 employee ID and age. Okay, now I want employee ID to be printed in age. Okay, and it is also giving you a skills. Okay, so increment by step 2 from first row to last row. It is saying first row to last row, and employee ID is. So if you see in employee ID, if you go with employee ID and age, from employee ID to age, there is a skills inside it. If you see, if I say employee ID to pay, this command is going to print employee ID, skill, age, and then pay. This is one way out. That is why there is a colon to it. Okay. Okay, so this is how you can use this programming. I think you have to understand it, and I will be sharing you this entire code so that you can understand, because if I just run it, you can understand, but I just thought to explain it so that it will help you out to code it, because it's just a small piece of code. Okay, so okay, so this is how it works. Okay. So Sakshi, are you there?
हाँ जी सर.
Okay. So just take attendance and share it to ma'am. Okay, just share it to me.
Okay. Sir, should I share the meeting screenshot or provide a list?
Just take the, the first day, just take the screenshot, and also if you have any list, maybe in Google, maybe there is some Google Drive or something, right?
Okay, no
So
problem.
just write the name and share it to me and ma'am also,
Okay.
so that there will be some transparency. And I will be
And
sharing you a Google, there is something called Classroom link, and I request you to join it there, because I will be uploading my PPTs and today's this Python programming, so that just run through it. In the next class, I will be showing you the code. Okay, just because it's a small code and all. So
okay, I will share in the group. Okay, sir.
hope this is today's class. So okay, so in the next class we will stick to our syllabus. Okay, and then we will wind up the session. Okay, so thank you so much for participating, and if you have any query, you can reach out to me. My WhatsApp number is there, and also you can write to me.
सर आज की PPTs प्लीज शेयर कर दीजिएगा.
I will be sharing you somewhere maybe
Classroom.
yeah,
Okay,
at the end of the
perfect.
day. I will be sharing you the classroom link,
Okay.
and because there is a repository there. So okay, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.